Aboard the Separatist cruiser, the sound of lightsabers echoed through the metallic corridors as Anakin Skywalker advanced, fearless, alongside Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was the second time he faced Count Dooku, and the confidence pulsing through his veins was almost arrogant. His recent victories in battle made him believe it would be easy, but Dooku, cold and experienced, did not share that illusion. The fight began intensely, with Anakin taking the offensive. For a moment, it seemed he would achieve a legendary feat, defeating a Sith Lord. But one mistake, a single miscalculation, was enough. First, he used Force lightning to keep Obi-Wan from getting close, and then, with an elegant and cruel spin, Dooku delivered a cut above Anakin's right knee, bringing him down, his saber flying from his hands. The young Jedi screamed in pain, but before the final blow, Obi-Wan returned and reacted. Unlike the original timeline, he was not unconscious. After blocking the lightning with his saber, he leaped in front of Anakin, blocking the fatal strike. Still, the battle was lost, and Obi-Wan was forced to retreat with Anakin in his arms. The Jedi duo could not withstand the Count's power. The rescue mission had failed. With Anakin gravely wounded and missing another limb, Obi-Wan prioritized the chance to fight another day. A clone detachment reached them in time, and the withdrawal was immediate. The Separatist cruiser pulled away from Coruscant's atmosphere, taking Palpatine with it, victorious, even under disguise. The escape ship jumped into hyperspace, silent except for Anakin's muffled groans and the tense stares of the soldiers. The arrival on Coruscant was grim. The Jedi had failed their main mission, to rescue the Chancellor. Anakin, unconscious and with his leg severed, was rushed to the Jedi Order's medical center. Doctors and droids worked non-stop. A cybernetic limb was implanted, but it wasn't the physical pain that affected the Jedi Knight most. When he woke, he didn't scream. He simply stared at the white ceiling, mute, motionless. He refused visitors. Padme tried to see him, Obi-Wan too. Even Master Yoda came, but he turned them all away. The smiling Anakin seemed to have vanished. In the early days, the medical team reported that physical recovery was excellent, but the psychological reports were concerning. Anakin would go into long periods of silence, showing no emotion or reaction. When he finally spoke, it was to ask that the lights around him be turned off. He claimed he no longer felt anything and thus wished to remain in darkness. He said the Force had abandoned him. He tried to use a simple Force push, but nothing happened. No vibration, no flow, just emptiness. It was as if the Force was absent, or perhaps he was too broken to feel it. That feeling grew, and Anakin began to isolate himself completely. Padme, pregnant and full of hope, found a wall of rejection. Obi-Wan, who tried to remain like a brother, was pushed away by cold stares and harsh words. Even R2-D2 was sent away. Anakin didn't want reminders of the past. To him, the present was a field of ashes. He had been defeated twice by the same enemy. He lost an arm and a leg, and the robotic replacements didn't feel the same. And this time, there was neither honor nor victory, only humiliation. Meanwhile, the galaxy watched with judging eyes. The mission's failure echoed in the Senate. How could the Jedi, with all their powers, fail to save the Chancellor? Newspapers and holograms on Coruscant delivered cold analyses, malicious speculations, and demands for answers. The Jedi Council, pressured and divided, debated the future. Some saw Anakin as a burden. Others still defended him as the chosen one. But it was hard to maintain faith in the face of his current condition. The more traditional masters began to argue that perhaps the prophecy had been misinterpreted, that maybe Skywalker was the harbinger of imbalance, not its end. Mace Windu was direct. Perhaps we should stop him from dragging us down with him. If he no longer feels the Force, then we will take Skywalker's saber and Jedi title. But Yoda, though concerned, asked for patience. He said that wounds of the soul take longer to heal. However, political pressure allowed no delay. The Senate began to debate the Jedi's role as the Republic's defense force. And with Palpatine missing, a shadow began to grow in the power vacuum. From his bed, Anakin heard echoes of these discussions. He showed no reaction, but every word pierced him like an invisible blade. He knew they were doubting him. He knew they spoke of replacement. He knew the council saw him as unstable, a risk, perhaps already lost. And more than anything, Anakin began to doubt himself. The idea that he was not the chosen one consumed him. It was no longer a suspicion, it was a painful certainty. To him, the Force no longer responded because he was unworthy. The crisis deepened, and instead of seeking comfort in those who loved him, he closed himself off even further. Every gesture of kindness irritated him, especially those from Obi-Wan, who tried to contact Anakin every day since the incident. Every word of comfort felt like an insult. It wasn't pity Anakin wanted. He wanted power. He wanted justice. He wanted revenge for being left at death's door, for having failed, for having been forgotten. But all he had was uncertainty and fear. In the halls of the Jedi Order, no one truly knew what to do. The most promising warrior, the hero of the Clone War, was now a broken man. What no one realized yet, however, was that this deep and silent pain was the seed of something far more dangerous. In a hidden location, the Sith Lord was already planning his next steps. Palpatine's plan had failed. In his mind, everything had been orchestrated with precision. Anakin Skywalker was supposed to defeat Count Dooku during the kidnapping, rescuing the Chancellor and, in the process, taking the definitive step toward the dark side. But, surprisingly, Anakin lost, and badly. Palpatine's disappointment was deep. He didn't show it outwardly, of course, but inside he was seething. Young Skywalker, his personal bet, had failed twice against the same enemy. This jeopardized years of manipulation. He continued playing the farce of having been captured by the Separatists. He gave the impression to the galaxy that Palpatine saw himself in an uncomfortable position. Despite maintaining direct communication with Dooku, he now had to act as a hostage before the galaxy. It was a delicate game. He couldn't reveal his identity as a Sith Lord. In the public eye, he was a vulnerable prisoner, a figure of compassion and a symbol of Jedi incompetence. The people saw him as a victim, but he knew he couldn't remain in that position for long. Dooku, for his part, felt invincible. Defeating Anakin Skywalker placed him on a new level. Palpatine had promised him a key role in the new galactic order. With the Chancellor at his side, the Jedi discredited, and the Separatist system standing strong, he envisioned a future where he would no longer have to bow to anyone. The temptation of total power began to poison his already dark heart. With the kidnapping prolonged, Dooku and Palpatine realized they could use the Chancellor's image to maneuver galactic politics in their favor. They recorded messages in which the Chancellor pleaded for help, saying he trusted the Confederacy's good sense to achieve peace. These recordings were broadcast to all the central systems. The effect was devastating. To many, it seemed that even Palpatine was beginning to see sense in the Separatist arguments. The Republic was weakening, not through military defeats, but through a lack of confidence. In Coruscant's political arena, debates intensified. Senators questioned whether the war was still worth it. Some suggested negotiations. Others blamed the Jedi for the crisis. Confidence in the Order plummeted. Palpatine, in his carefully crafted messages alongside Dooku, reinforced the idea that he was being treated well, but that the war needed to end. It was all theater, but it was working. The most fragile systems began to waver. The galaxy was beginning to doubt the Republic's path. The Separatists, under Dooku's guidance, since the vast majority did not know Palpatine was the true leader, drafted a list of demands for Palpatine's release. They wanted full independence for all aligned systems, the withdrawal of Republic troops from border regions, the deactivation of mining fields in the Outer Rings, and the immediate release of all senators and governors accused of supporting the Separatist cause. It was a bold list, perhaps impossible to accept. Rescue missions began to be mounted, but they always ended in tragedy. The Jedi Order could not allow the Chancellor to remain in enemy hands, even as civilian authorities hesitated. In one of these attempts, Masters Plo Koon and Ki-Adi-Mundi led an assault on a location tract in the Outer Rim systems. They were ambushed. The greatest shock was finding Palpatine fighting alongside Dooku, even if discreetly. Both masters were killed. The losses deeply shook the Jedi Council, not only because of the deaths of two powerful masters and other Jedi, but also due to the disturbing revelation that Count Dooku himself was growing increasingly powerful. Dooku, now surrounded by loyalty among the Separatists and having once again defeated the Jedi, was solidifying his image as a liberator. He began visiting allied systems, organizing political councils, and arming local militias. He was treated as a statesman. The leaders of the Separatist Council now saw him not only as a general but as the rightful heir to a new regime. On Coruscant, while the Jedi debated and the weeks continued to pass, Padme made a decision. Ignoring security warnings and the emotional distance Anakin himself imposed, she kept visiting him every day. She brought food, flowers, news, and hope. She sat by his bedside even when he kept his eyes closed. "You don't have to be perfect," she whispered. "You just need to come back." But Anakin turned his face away. His words were few and harsh. "You shouldn't be here, Padme. I failed you. I failed everyone." With each passing day, his condition worsened. The external scars were healing. The internal ones were not. Anakin began losing sleep, haunted by nightmares in which he saw himself shattered, abandoned, or consumed by a darkness wearing Dooku's face. He dreamed of his own death, of Padme in tears, of the temple in ruins. When he woke up, sweaty and breathless, he still couldn't feel the Force. He tried to meditate, tried to concentrate. Nothing happened. It was like trying to turn on a light without power. Obi-Wan visited, but each visit was shorter than the last. Conversations became monologues. Anakin didn't want advice. He didn't want promises. He wanted answers that no one could give him. "They used to call me the Chosen One. Now they want to take my saber." Obi-Wan tried to calm him, but nothing worked. "You're still important to the Order," he said. "Lies," Anakin whispered. "They fear me." And deep down, Obi-Wan knew he was right. Some masters were already speaking of monitoring Skywalker, as if he were a threat. "They left me to die," he once said, staring at the wall. Padme, holding his mechanical hand, tried to argue. "Obi-Wan fought for you. The Republic saved you. He never gave up and is hunting Dooku for what he did to you, Anakin." But Anakin shook his head. "They wanted me to fail. They only loved me while I was winning." That anger, mixed with pain, made his heart heavy. Even so, he was too tired to truly hate. It was as if his soul had been drained by defeat. Guilt was a slow poison. In the Jedi Temple, the atmosphere was one of veiled tension. Some young Padawans began whispering in the halls. "He can't feel the Force anymore. Maybe the prophecy was wrong. He's cursed." The words spread like poison. The council, divided, avoided taking an official stance. But Yoda finally broke the silence in a meeting. "Wounded, yes. Lost, perhaps not." It was a warning and also a plea. But time was slipping away, and Anakin's wounds were bleeding slowly. As the weeks went by, Skywalker began walking the temple at night, dragging his cybernetic leg with difficulty. He stopped before the windows, staring at Coruscant's skyline as if waiting for something that never came. The Force remained absent. The whispers from before turned into awkward silences. No one greeted him. He was a ghost among the living, a painful reminder that not even the Chosen One is immune to the fall. The halls of the Jedi Council began to fill with growing unease. The Separatists' victories were piling up. Entire systems were declaring support for them. The Senate, increasingly divided, demanded answers. "Why are we failing?" the masters asked one another, unable to face the most feared answer. They felt that a shadow was working behind the events, but they still could not see the face of Palpatine. His role as a prisoner maintained the perfect disguise and prevented any drastic action. The clones were overwhelmed. Even with their combat efficiency, they were finite soldiers fighting an infinite war. The Republic was losing territory at an accelerated pace, and rumors that even the oldest allies were considering desertion arrived daily. The atmosphere was one of despair, yet no general turned against the Jedi. Palpatine, still playing the victim, made any open betrayal impossible. It was as if the galaxy were waiting for something or someone to break first. And the Council knew time was against them. It was in this context that Yoda made a decision. Silently, without consulting the Council, he walked to Anakin's quarters. The young Jedi was standing, leaning on his metallic cane, staring at the reddish sky of Coruscant. "Have you come to take my saber?" he asked without turning his face. Yoda didn't answer right away. He stood there beside him, sharing the silence. Until he said, "Keep the saber, Skywalker must. Wounded, yes. Lost, not yet. To heal, you must leave." Anakin frowned. "Heal how?" Yoda looked into his eyes and said he knew a way to bring the real Anakin back. Without many details, Yoda took Anakin aboard a discreet ship. They would travel alone. The destination wasn't listed on the Council maps. A distant planet, shrouded in mist and forgotten by war. Upon landing on Dagobah, the smell of wet vegetation and the sound of hidden creatures marked Anakin's first contact with the environment. He descended from the ship with difficulty, the mud clinging to his mechanical leg. "This place gives me chills." Yoda nodded. In the first nights, Anakin barely slept. The trees seemed to watch him. Distant echoes whispered old pains. But Yoda began the training before the sun even rose. Unlike the intense trainings at the Jedi Temple, here everything was slow, internal. He had to lift stones with his mind, balance on wet roots, meditate under rain. Anakin's body resisted. His metallic leg unbalanced him. His mind sabotaged him. But slowly, he began to listen to what was inside. The anger, the fear, the pride. Just as Luke Skywalker would one day do, Anakin went through similar rituals. He was cast into visions by the Force itself. In one, he saw Padme dying in the arms of a hooded figure. He tried to run, scream, stop it, but couldn't move. In another, he relived his fall before Dooku, feeling again the pain of his leg being cut. In the swamp, he faced an illusion of Palpatine himself, who told him, "You already failed. You were never worthy." But in each test, Anakin came back stronger. Not because he won, but because he no longer ran away. Yoda watched, never intervened, only guided him with short words. Anakin tried to understand. Sometimes he exploded. "So what do I do? Let it consume me?" Yoda responded calmly that Anakin must accept, feel, understand, and then let it all go at once. The process was exhausting, but each week, Anakin rose more centered. He began to move objects with the Force again, to feel the trees, the winds, even the tiny insects around him. The Force was returning, but it was different, calmer, cleaner. One morning, during meditation, Anakin saw himself as a child. He was on Tatooine, sitting on the sandy ground. In front of him, the image of his mother smiled. But when he tried to approach, the figure vanished. Behind him, a dark silhouette appeared with red eyes. It was himself, Anakin as an adult, but with a red saber in hand. The vision disappeared in a flash. He woke up breathless. "I saw what I can become." Yoda listened attentively. That day, something changed. For the first time, Anakin didn't try to push the pain away. He embraced it. When he cried for his mother, he didn't scream. When he remembered Padme, he simply accepted it. And it was in that acceptance that the Force exploded inside him with intensity. A nearby tree bent. The ground trembled slightly. Anakin opened his eyes, breathless but calm. The connection was restored. But now it was deeper, wiser. At the end of weeks there, Anakin was already moving better, even with the limitation of his leg. His mind was sharper. The saber spun firmly again between his fingers. And the Force responded clearly. Yoda knew he was not yet complete. But now, at least, Anakin was no longer a burden. He was once again a Jedi who had touched the darkness and chosen to step back. When the ship took off to return, the swamp seemed to say farewell in silence. Dagobah had not healed Anakin, but had shaped him. As he looked back, he did not feel anger. He realized the war was not over. Palpatine was still somewhere. And now Anakin was ready to face him. For the first time in a long time, he was not afraid. Then the Jedi Council finally obtained Palpatine's location. A collection of information from spies, triangulations done by Force-sensitive masters, and data stolen from Separatist ships pointed to a hidden fortress in a rocky belt of the farthest system. Mace Windu took command of the mission. At his side, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, now restored, boarded the ship bound for the unknown. Aboard the vessel, silence hung heavy, but the tension between Mace and Anakin was obvious. During the journey, Mace didn't hide his suspicions. "I hope you're ready this time, Skywalker. We can't afford any mistakes." Anakin clenched his fists but held himself back. Obi-Wan intervened calmly. "He's more ready than any of us. You just don't want to admit it." Mace only turned his gaze to the ship's viewport. As they approached the hidden base, the ship landed silently between sharp cliffs. Mace led the way, escorted by clones and droids. Inside, Dooku waited with theatrical calm. Upon being informed of the Jedi's arrival, he suggested an immediate audience. "Simple terms," he said. "Total surrender. The Republic dissolves. In return, I give back your beloved Chancellor." Mace didn't hesitate. "This is unacceptable. It only shows how desperate you are." Dooku smiled. "Then let the desperation begin with you." The negotiation was called off. The hangar began to be evacuated. Before the fight, Dooku turned directly to Anakin. "I see you still limp. Still feel the absence of the leg I took." Anakin took a deep breath. "Today, you give back what you took." Obi-Wan stood beside his friend, saber in hand. When Dooku activated his red saber, Mace Windu looked at them briefly. "I'll go after the Chancellor. Hold him." Anakin nodded. "Go. This time, we've got it." The duel between the three warriors was intense. Dooku moved with elegance, trying to repeat the strikes that had once defeated Anakin. But now, Skywalker was different. Even with the mechanical leg, he fought with discipline. He wasn't driven by rage, but by purpose. Obi-Wan covered the flanks, forcing Dooku on the defensive. Together, they nullified his advantage. "You've learned," said the Count, "but you still don't know what you're up against." Anakin didn't respond, he just advanced. With a precise spin, Anakin struck a blow that hit Dooku's forearm. The Count staggered back, off balance, but had no time to react. The second cut came right after, slicing off his other hand. The red saber fell, spinning on the metal floor. Dooku dropped to his knees. "Please wait," he said, his face covered in sweat. "Don't kill me, Skywalker. I know it's not what you want." Anakin brought the saber close to the Count's neck. His eyes fixed, his breath steady. But he didn't move. Dooku smiled, exhausted. "I fear that if you kill me now, you'll never learn the truth." Obi-Wan raised an eyebrow. "What truth?" The Count took a deep breath. "I'm not the only one. I never was. All of this, everything, was created by him. He's been manipulating you from the very beginning." Anakin stepped closer, the saber still lit. "Who?" Dooku looked up. "Palpatine himself is the Sith Lord you seek." Silence fell heavy. Obi-Wan stepped back. "That can't be." As they processed the truth, the sound of footsteps echoed through the hangar. Mace Windu reappeared, holding Palpatine by the arm, helping him walk as if he were just a tired old man. The Chancellor dragged his feet and looked exhausted. "He needs medical attention," said Mace. But Anakin and Obi-Wan no longer saw the same man. They shouted, "Step away from him! He's the Sith Lord." Palpatine's expression twisted in rage upon hearing that. Upon seeing Dooku kneeling and defeated, the disguise fell. Palpatine's face turned to pure contempt after realizing Dooku, kneeling there, had revealed his identity. In a sudden movement, Palpatine turned, stretched out his fingers, and used the Force to paralyze Mace Windu. The Jedi Master tried to resist, but his arms bent under the invisible energy. "You never understood. You never deserved the power you controlled," Palpatine growled. From his sleeve, the red lightsaber sprang like a hidden dagger. With a cruel twist, he thrust it through Mace's back, piercing his chest. The Jedi Master fell lifeless. A deadly silence took the hangar, and then chaos began. Anakin screamed and ran toward the Sith, followed by Obi-Wan. The sabers ignited with a roar. Palpatine spun with inhuman agility, striking with fury. Force lightning shot from his fingers, throwing metal debris and deactivated droids at the Jedi. Obi-Wan was slammed against a wall but rose again. Anakin parried the strikes with precision. The Force trembled around them. Palpatine vanished and reappeared in shadowy leaps, trying to separate the two warriors. Force lightning exploded, sparking fires across part of the ceiling. In a moment of distraction, Palpatine tried to choke Obi-Wan with the Force, but Anakin leapt onto him. "You won't hurt him," he shouted. They fought at the center of the ship's command bridge. It was the heart of everything and also the key. Anakin saw the opportunity. With a glance to Obi-Wan, he whispered, "Hold on," and with a wave of his hand, he hurled his blue lightsaber toward the ship's windows. The impact shattered the reinforced glass, opening a colossal hole. The vacuum of space sucked everything with fury. Alarms blared. Anakin and Obi-Wan clung to nearby railings at the control panel. Palpatine and Dooku, caught off guard and far from any support, were pulled out. The Count, armless, screamed one last time. Palpatine spun in the void with hatred in his eyes that soon showed the light had left them. And then space silence swallowed them whole. Anakin, even while being pulled, used the Force to activate the ship's safety panel. The emergency seal came down with loud clanks, sealing the breach and restoring gravity. He and Obi-Wan collapsed to the floor, breathless and exhausted. They looked at each other. "Is it over?" Obi-Wan asked. Anakin, lying on his back, replied, "This time, yes." The silence now was different, not of fear, but of relief. For the first time in a long time, the weight of darkness seemed to have lifted. With the death of Darth Sidious, the Empire's plans crumbled before they could even begin. The Senate received the news in shock. The Jedi Council, devastated by the losses, slowly rose again. Dooku, even captured, was silenced forever by the vacuum of space. Without leaders, the Separatists began to retreat. The war didn't end immediately, but its spine had been broken. Hope gradually returned to the free systems, and Coruscant woke to a lighter dawn. Anakin Skywalker, now recognized by the Council not as the chosen one who would bring balance through power alone, but with balance within himself, was welcomed back among the Jedi. He reunited with Padme and witnessed the birth of the twins. His steps were slower, but his spirit was firmer. The war had taken much from him, but it had also taught him how to see. The fall had not defined him. The return did.